I am not exactly sure how I'm supposed to greet you because this is very new to me. It is my first official YouTube video. I am quite nervous as I'm seated here because I'm used to someone else interviewing me, and now I'm basically just talking to a lot of people but through a camera. So it is quite nerve-wracking, and I found myself, or I caught myself thinking of what exactly I'm going to share with you, how I'm going to say it, what I'm going to do, and I just stopped it because I'm so used to trying to do everything perfect and live up to expectations and fit into a certain box. You know, what is expected of a Miss South Africa, what is expected of a Miss World, but today I'm just going to be myself. I put on my favorite jersey. It has a few holes in it and a few twings. So I just wanted to be absolutely comfortable, absolutely honest with you. And yes, like I've said, this is my first YouTube video, and what new YouTubers usually do is they do a get to know me tag where they answer a few questions, and I'm going to answer 25 questions as Rolene Strauss, not as Miss South Africa or Miss World. This is me, and I hope that you get to know me a bit better after this. So let's get into it. What is your middle name? So I don't really have a middle name. I'm named Rolene Strauss, and I'm not really named after anyone. My parents didn't think it is best to give me or my brother any middle name, so we only have a first name. Which of your parents are you more like? I definitely have something of my mom and something of my dad, but I have more similarities to my dad, and I actually brought an album of some pictures that I have with me and my dad. A few things that we both love doing. As a little girl, I used to go to hospital with my dad. My dad is a doctor, and that was our way of bonding. So in that way, we're very similar. My dad has a loose head sometimes. In Afrikaans, we say a loskop. So he would forget certain things that's not that important for him, and I'm exactly the same. And then my mom always told us that we are willevragtig. So we just do everything that we want. I climb the tree without thinking. So there we are very, very similar. So I have a few pictures of me and my dad. I think I was 1 year or 2 years, 2 years old here, sorry, at the beach. We have both have curly hair, and I do have my dad's body as well. So yes, this is me and my dad. What is your biggest fear? So I have two biggest fears, or two big fears. The one is elephants. I am so afraid of an elephant, and I think I've learned that from my mom. She is very, very scared of elephants, and there were a few times where we went to the Kruger National Park as family, as a family trip, and the elephants would actually chase us in the car. When someone has a fear of spiders, there's arachnophobia, so I'm not really sure what it's called. Elephantophobia, I don't know, let's Google it. Oh my word, okay. So the fear of elephants is called pachydermophobia. Pachydermophobia. So I've learned something new about myself. I have pachydermophobia. Yeah. And then if I have nightmares, I usually dream about tsunamis. So I'm really, really scared of tsunamis. And in South Africa, we don't really get tsunamis, so I feel very safe. Then what has required the most courage of you in your life so far? If I think about adventurous things that I've done that really required a lot of courage, the first one would be bungee jumping. And bungee jumping off, I think it's the highest bungee jump spot in Africa, which is Blaukrans. It's also in South Africa. And then the next one was falling pregnant. Obviously we got married, and then I fell pregnant, and my baby was born in January of my final year of medical study. So that was quite difficult for me, and I had to have a lot of courage to get through that. Who is your favorite actress? So my favorite actress is Blake Lively, especially in the movie The Age of Adeline. I love her. She's my husband's favorite, and I think he has a crush on her as well. But I like her too, so I don't really mind. Then, what is your favorite childhood memory? Wow. I have so many wonderful childhood memories. It will probably be to play with my best friend, and at that stage my best friend was my brother, and I did all things that boys do. So we used to have draadkarre. It's a little car built from wire that you have a steering wheel and you drive. So we used to make paths in the backyard and play with the draadkarre and climb tree and build foofie slides. There was a rule in our house that you don't come inside unless the sun has set. So those were my favorite memories, playing outside with my brother. What is your favorite ice cream flavor? It definitely is salted caramel. What is your favorite subject in high school? This is actually a very funny question because my favorite subject was the subject that I struggled most when I was in primary school. So my favorite subject in high school was mathematics, and I used to struggle with it until one day I just snapped it and it turned out to be my favorite subject, and I also did the best in mathematics. Are you more likely to avoid conflict or engage it head on? I definitely avoid conflict as far as I can. Sometimes to such an extent that it's not good for me as a person, because I don't feel like speaking about stuff that can cause conflict. Who is the best teacher you've ever had? By far, my husband. He taught me everything, or not everything, but he taught me a lot of the things that I know, and he is just the best person that I know. Do you have any birthmarks? When I saw this question, I actually forgot that I have a birthmark, but I do have a birthmark. I asked my husband if I have a birthmark, and he said yes, you do, and he actually exactly knew where it was. So I do have a birthmark. It's on my arm. I don't know if you can see it, but yes, I do have a birthmark. Then, who sends the last text message you received? I'm not sure. Let's go have a look. Well, it is a text message via WhatsApp on a group. I don't know if you guys are in a lot of groups. So it's a group text message that I received from my Bible study group. What is the name of your first pet? The very first pet I had was a cat. He was black and grey with white spots, and his name was Polka Dot. What scares you about aging? There are quite a few things that scare me about aging. The first thing would be that I won't be able to physically do the things that I mentally want to do. And I think that is quite scary. I love being active and outside, so not being able to do that as often and to such an extent that I'm doing at the moment would be difficult. And the next thing, I have a fear of not being able to remember my loved ones. So in my family, we have a few people who's had Alzheimer's, and I've seen that happen, and it's not as sad for the person as it is for the ones around them. So I don't want my loved ones to go through that. Have you ever suffered a fracture? I have suffered a fracture. I think I've suffered less fractures that I'm supposed to have suffered with my personality and the type of things that I do. But the only fracture I've suffered thus far is the breaking of my one rib. When I was young, I did some horseback riding, and the horse jumped over a hole and I fell off on a rock. So that was the only fracture I've had. What is under your bed? I'm not really sure. Perhaps I should just quickly go check. I did find something. Okay, so I thought that I thought that the one thing that might probably be under my bed is a toy from my son or a shoe from my husband, but I actually found something of mine. It's a hair clip. So I'm pretty sure that my son put the hair clip there. What is the best compliment you have ever received? So the best compliment I've received was actually my husband's pickup line when we met for the first time. And I thought that was really, that was a real compliment. He came up to me and he told me, you look really intelligent. And I absolutely love that, because it's not the normal stuff that guys say, like, you know, you're beautiful, you have beautiful eyes, or something like that. He actually told me that I look intelligent. So I'm not sure if I do look intelligent, but that was really a good compliment for me. What was the last thing you bought? The last thing I bought, apart from groceries, probably, was, I'm not sure. It was a book online called Coaching on the Axis. That was the last thing I bought. What was your first job? So my first official job was probably waitressing. I remember that my cousin and I used to do waitressing as a holiday job because we wanted to earn some money to spend later during the holidays. So that was my first job. I was a waitress. I wasn't a very good waitress though. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest and 1 being the lowest, rate your driving skills. So out of the, how many years have I been driving? 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Out of the 8 years I've been driving, I've only been in 1 accident. So I would say my driving skills would probably be 9 out of 10. My husband and my family might differ, but personally I think my driving skills is 9 out of 10. And I did get my driver's license the first time I attempted it. What did you want to be when you grew up? When I grew up, the first thing that I wanted to be was a singer. So we had our first school talk in grade 1. We had to talk about what we wanted to be when we grow up, and I wanted to be a singer. So I was there, all dressed up, making as if or pretending as if I'm singing. That quickly changed, but I think I have a photo of my first school talk, trying to be a singer. I'm not a very good singer, so luckily I changed my mind later on. But yes, here I am. I still wore those platform shoes. I don't know if you remember the time where those were in fashion, and I wanted to sing. Then eventually it changed. I spent a lot of time with my dad in hospital. He's also a doctor, and I wanted to become a doctor. And since then it has never changed. I always love medicine and love helping people. So that is the story. What do you call it when rain falls while the sun is shining? So we call it Jakkelstroom met Wolfse vrou, which is actually something that we say in Afrikaans. Afrikaans is my home language, but if you translate it into English, it means jackal is getting married to wolf's wife. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but that is what we call it in Afrikaans. What is something most people don't know about you? This is very difficult because a lot of people know a lot of things about me. I can't think of something that they don't know. Perhaps that I love eating. A lot of people think that I shouldn't be loving eating because, I have to look at what I'm eating, but I absolutely love eating. And it's not that I love unhealthy eating. I love certain unhealthy things, but I love healthy eating as well. I just love eating overall. If you have a nickname, what is it? So my nickname is something that my brother gave me when he was young. Because my name is Rolene, that's how you pronounce it. He couldn't say R when he was young, so he just called me Lola. So I don't know where it come from, but my nickname is Lola. So most of the people who spend a lot of time with me, most of my close family members call me Lola. Would you rather have a live-in massage therapist or a live-in chef? That would without a doubt be a live-in massage therapist. I love it when someone is tickling my back or massaging me. My husband doesn't like it at all, so I have to beg him to just, do something. But I would love to have a live-in massage therapist massaging me whenever I want a massage. So that is all of the questions, and I hope that you feel like you know me a bit better on a personal level, and not as Miss World or as Miss South Africa, but as Rolene. So that was my get to know me tag, and that was my first official YouTube video. If you liked it, please let me know, and I would love to share some more personal stories, more personal things that I've never shared with anyone before during my next YouTube videos. So yes, if you like it, stay tuned.